kind of decide on that?
Yeah, I thought I did hear that. I don't know if it's official yet.
It sounded like they were going to decide on tomorrow morning.
Message if I hear anything.
It sounded like they were going to make the decision tomorrow morning.
Okay, well, I mean, if Bergen Catholic is, I'm guessing, maybe they'll come in tomorrow. I'm guessing, and yeah, that could work. I wonder if I believe it was scheduled to be on. Was that scheduled to be an ESPN game?
That's what I was trying to find out earlier. I've been trying to ask around. I've yet to get an answer on that. I thought somewhere I saw that was supposed to be an ESPN game. Though I got to think, if they move it from Saturday to Friday, then if it was, then that completely goes out the window.
Yeah, I wonder how that works with ESPN. If they're the ones that determine if it can get moved to Friday.
Well, realistically,
contract-wise and all.
Well, realistically, the teams probably could move it. The problem is they would lose the broadcasting rights for it by doing that. So they would essentially just have to realize they're not going to make as much money.
Okay.
Though, for this game, if it does happen, considering this is no disrespect to Bergen Catholic, but I don't feel like they're going to be able to come down and beat Aquinas. Then again, we have seen in the past that New Jersey has seemed to have the number of Aquinas when it comes to like Don Bosco being 2-0 against them. Though that, all things considered, Aquinas at home against Bergen Catholic, if this game gets off, I'm going to definitely have to lean Aquinas by at least a touchdown in this game.
Yeah, I mean, this is Bergen Catholic's opening game. I see early on Max Preps has them at 2 in New Jersey. I'm just looking over the roster. They definitely have some big boys. And I know they're always going to be well coached. I think this is going to be a low scoring game. And I'm going to lean St. Thomas here by. I'm going to lean St. Thomas by 6 here in this game, just because they're at home. Bergen Catholic. Hopefully we get a great game. Both teams, can compete to their max, but could Bergen Catholic be getting thrown off a little bit? By the way, you're playing on Friday instead of Saturday, and there's a hurricane in the area. I don't know. I don't know how. These kids are resilient, so probably won't affect them too much. But I'm going to lean St. Thomas in a close game here. I think they pull it out. I think this game is going to be probably a similar type game to that St. John Bosco game that was kind of a defensive battle. It went to OT. St. Thomas pulled it out. Remember that game a year or two ago?
Yeah, that and that St. John Bosco team ended up finishing third in the nation, and Aquinas didn't even finish top 10 in Florida.
Right, I remember that. Yeah, and oddly enough, that particular game, I believe it was when I went to it. It was like a windy. It wasn't like a hurricane, but it was somewhat windy with rain. A lot of big games, a lot of big night games. I don't understand it. Not just nationally, but locally, have been windy games with rain at St. Thomas. I mean, I don't know what it is. Just I don't know. I mean, I can remember Miramar. Miramar. There was a game at St. Thomas that was last year. Was that the year before? Miramar upset St. Thomas.
Yeah, I think that was the 2017 season as well, so that would have been the same year.
I remember Flanagan versus St. Thomas, late season. That game was like rainy with a lot of wind. And of course, you had the Don Bosco game And then this one here is being played at St. Thomas. So Bergen Catholic. That was John Bosco. That was a windy, rainy game, and there's probably been more. So I don't know, but looks like another rainy, windy, potentially rainy, windy game there for St. Thomas at home. But I'll take them winning a close one here.
I will. I do remember last year when we played Gainesville. Ironic that they it's the Gainesville Purple Hurricanes, because it felt like probably by the moment I got in the stadium, it turned into a hurricane. That probably at least 30-mile-an-hour winds and complete downpour of rain. So yeah, we agreed to play the Hurricanes, not get hit by one. Though,
Interesting.
Back to the game at hand, I wouldn't say like. The only thing I would see, like, I would affect them from the changing of date is it probably is going to mean one less day of practice for both teams. I do think Burgess Catholic will adjust to the idea of playing a day early. They just won't have. They'll have one less practice to prepare with.
Right.
Then again, they may have been planning to fly out tomorrow anyway, so they would just have to be more adjusted to Florida. Basically on the fly versus having a full day of being down here.
True, yep.
Speaking of Miramar, they're going to be traveling to Dillard. I know that there's been a lot of hype on the message boards from the Dillard fan about this team. Miramar, I believe you mentioned earlier, they have a very good history of beating Dillard. They, from what it looks like, they seem to be a little bit down this year, while Dillard looks to have a very good team this year, and they're at home. I do think Dillard pulls this one out in a close one, though. So I guess maybe 4 to 7 points.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think traditionally, over the years, Miramar's just been a little bit ahead of Dillard as far as talent. I think, however, this year this is a good time for Dillard to catch Miramar. I do believe that Dillard will win this game at home, and I think Dillard. If we're talking about the same Dillard fan, he definitely. Is always hyped about his team, but I think this year, I think he has good reason to be. I saw this Dillard team play in person in the spring, and they're very deep, and they can definitely go blow to blow with Miramar, and I expect them to win a close game.
Well, Dillard fan, I'm sure you're going to be happy to hear that if you end up watching this podcast. Here's another one. This is a matchup that got me very curious. Miami Palmetto traveling to Cardinal Gibbons. From what we've always talked about, I've always been you brought to my attention Cardinal Gibbons a few years ago, and I've pretty much been pretty high on them ever since. I was very surprised with them getting decimated by Northwestern this past week. And even though I don't think Palmetto is exactly at the level of Miami Northwestern, they do look to be a very solid team. As much as I like Carl Gibbons, I'm having to think that they're probably dropping to 0-2, even being at home. I'm going to say Palmetto by 7 in this game.
Yeah, so Gibbons definitely took it on the chin last week. Not overly surprised with that outcome. I did expect Northwestern to win the game, but not in that fashion. Palmetto, as you said, is probably right there, close to as good as Northwestern. That their secondary, Palmetto secondary, is as good as anyone in the state. You're probably looking at Uh, Gibbons' offense is uh, usually pretty dynamic. It's pretty good offense. They definitely like to work the edges, a lot. I don't think they're going to want to test this team, beyond 15 yards, and probably, I'm going to say this ends up being Palmetto by Gibbons. Gibbons is going to come back home. They're going to be stronger than they're going to show up this week, and Palmetto wins this one by 10.
All right.
But a much more competitive game than last week.
I certainly would hope so.
Well, you got two of the, you schedule two of the, that's what you want. You want two of the top 5 teams in Dade, you got it.
Yeah, I think they potentially may have bitten off a little too much with that scheduling, but I have to respect the effort to try to go play those teams.
Yeah, I mean they're building something over there, and they're trying to make another title run. They're in that region of doom, the 4A4. So at the end of the day, you're gonna have to play these caliber teams regardless. So you may as well get a taste of what you're about to see, right?
It's always the 4s, whether it's 6A4 or 4A4.
Good point.
Speaking of a 4A4 team, Booker T. Washington going to be playing Miami Central. I guess you could also say that these are almost annually teams that are arguably top 5 in Dade, or at least definitely Miami Central, Booker T. It may have been a few years since they were top 5, and I guess you can kind of say they're probably borderline top 5 in Miami this year. But this was a very good match. This has really been a pretty good rivalry for at least this whole decade, really. Very good, two very good teams, two very successful teams.
I mean, these two teams have both been, top 5 nationally, historically. I think it was a 2013 Booker T team. It was one of the best teams I've ever seen. I think it was 2013. But Booker T is, you had the situation with ICE, now at Florida Memorial. I think they're going to be just fine. They're going to adjust. And, they'll be facing probably a very hungry Miami Central team here. Really going to want that W. I think this game is deceivingly close. I think this game is going to be within 7 points, and Miami Central pulls it out in the end. But I do think this game is going to be a lot closer than people believe.
Yeah, I'll take that. Sounds about right. I'm going to lean Central in a close one here. I would say by a touchdown.
Okay.
And to answer your question, it was 2013. In fact, I believe when they played that year, it was number 1 nationally versus number 2 nationally, and yet it wasn't on ESPN. Like, you got the top 2 teams nationally literally playing themselves playing each other in their backyard of Miami. On it, you have these, and they're both defending state champs and future state champs for that season, and this game somehow doesn't end up getting televised. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, you got me. It's Florida's had to earn their way to for national recognition. If you pick up a newspaper from 1980s, the USA Today, you might not find a Florida team in the top 25.
Yeah, I don't think it was till the 80s that we actually that Florida had someone that got into the USA top 25.
Right. Yeah. So, both